Well, greetings again. This is Dr. Bill Wyatt, and I want to explain something about how I do orthodontics and what I use to do orthodontics. I use an 018 slot, as many people use an 022 slot, which is 4 thousandths larger than the 18-2 slot. My size, let me go in here and kind of draw the way that is and explain that to people who wonder how they can do the same things that we do exactly. And I'll have to get some maker, somebody to supply this type of bracket for people. So let me go in and explain that a little bit more here. I'm going to get my wire. Let's see, I'll have to get my number here. Okay. Several years ago, I came up with they were making a plier for making clasp in teeth. And this is the plier they made where you would make these clasps. And I started making omegas with this type of plier. I'm going to go to the next deal and show here the plier is. And this was years ago, and I had them, I think they were made in Germany, and they were very accurate in the way they worked. And I'll show you how we make the omega with that plier. So this plier, you actually put your wire in here first. Now, my slots in the brackets, let's say this is a bracket, something like this. And my brackets will have a 018 slot in it. It's 18 thousandths in this dimension and 25 thousandths in the long dimension here. And you bend your wire, and if you put torque in it, say you put a certain amount of torque in the arch wire, you have to flatten it out and stick it in here. Then it's going to make, and see if this bracket is attached to a tooth, it's going to tend to move the top of the tooth over in this direction and the root in the other direction. And that's something you have to get down. People have to realize what is going on in here. Like if you want to put a big daddy arch wire on top of this, you would take this wire and put it in here with a lot of torque on it. Then it's going to make the top of the tooth move this way, and this would have to be on a lower tooth. And it would make the root of it go over here against the cortical bone. And that's good. That's something else you need to understand. But now we'll go back to making these omegas in there. So every arch wire that I tie back, I will put an omega in the arch wire. And you can make an omega in just minutes. I mean, a fraction of the time it takes you to bend one by hand. Okay, here the plier is again. You've got a space in here like this, and you put a wire up there, and you mash it down and make a loop in it right there. And it'll show you several views of it. If we were going to torque the back end of this wire, we would have to put it in a torquing machine, or else you would have to buy a wire with torque in it, and you put the torque in the anterior part of the wire, and you take it out back here, and you tilt the wire up like that. And then this type of progressive torque, in other words, you would start right behind the cuspid, and you would catch the wire at the end, and you twist that wire, and to where it goes like on the lower arch. Now you would want to come off and twist it, and when you get to the end, it's going to go out through the last wire. It would be going 90 degrees from where you started here. And then you put this, level it down, and you pick it up, and it's going to tend to push the crown lingually, and it'll make the root go to the buckle. And that's the way we expand anything with a great deal of expansion used with a Big Daddy arch wire. You have to put this progressive torque in the tooth and have it in there when you put the Big Daddy wire out, and you can bring the wires out as much as you want to. But let's get back to the making of the omega again here. Now we'll go to the next slide. Now here, if we've got this kind of mixed up here, I use tools that are 1/4 of a millimeter out here at the tip, and this is tool steel. I mean, it's hard, tough steel, and you can use these pliers for years, and that won't mess it up. But if you use soft steel and you start bending that at that small part, it'll bend the end of the plier up, and it won't be any good anymore. So it has to be accurate like that. So I have these pliers made up right here. It's got my name on it, the plier, and we can twist that wire in a very small area like that. And that would, and you run this wire back here, and now you twist it until this would be coming out on the side of that way. In other words, it would just turn like that, going in there. All right, here's back making the omega. If this is where we're going to make this omega, this end of this wire would be going around, and you have make one on the other side also. So we put a mark right here. And when I make that omega, it's going to be on the mesial side of the omega. As I press this together, it's going to push this down. It'll pull this in. And you can watch that do that here. All right, I'm going to mash it down. You see this comes over in here. And I've got to mash it further than that. And this is normal stainless steel rectangular wire. And it is 018 in size. And if you take an 022 and try to make it with this same thing, frequently it'll break the wire in two there. Now go all the way down with it, and now my wire's got a little deal like this in it, like there. I take it out, and I'm going to put the wire in this part, and you see it leaning right there. So we take it out. I'm going to come over and put the wire in this long slot here, and it's got a bend in it. We take it, put it in here, so the wire come up here like that. And now we're going to squeeze this, and that'll make the omega lean forward. You can watch this take as we do. Okay, we've turned the plier sideways, set it in this slot right here. This will hold an old 022 wire, but bending it that close frequently will break it. So it hardly ever breaks an 018 wire. Now I'm going to push that, whoops, sorry, go back. All right, I push that together and this comes right flush up here. You can hardly bend this by hand, but I can bend it with these in a matter of just a few seconds. You can, once you get used to doing that, you can put that. And this is going to be, that's where the mark is. This will be the mesial part. This wire we go over here, and now you make one of these omegas on the other side too, see? Now here the omega is made. It's come real close. We're bending a kind of a curve, come like that. And now your tooth would be back in here, something like that. And we can tie this wire back and pull it back to close space in the arch to tie it back real tight. And we tie it against this omega. And that omega will last. You can go ahead and finish the case out. And this where we be thinking in 3 dimensions. Now don't think of this same thing. So you got something on the other side doing the same way like that. Now when I put a molar band, I mean a molar, if you just look at the top of the molar, it'll be something like this, and a bicuspid might be something like this, a little less than the molar. So you want the wire to come like this, and then you got to bend it out and go back this way. So we're going to have to change. We have to bend this out and then drop back in, and this will go into the molar slot over here and in the bicuspid on the other side. Here is the omega. This just the first thing we bend it is like this. But this, don't think about it bending it like that. Now if you think about bending a wire, think in big terms. Say this is the thickness of this wire. It's like that. Just blow it up in your mind, and we're going to make a sharp bend in this wire. And we don't want to make it real sharp, we want it to do like this. You're stretching the molecules in this outer side of this, and you're compressing the molecules in this inside part. And so you never bend a piece of wire. You never bend it by making a sharp bend like that, or you'll break the wire nearly every time. You've got to bend it going around a curve, and that stretches the molecules on the outside of the bend and squeezes them together on the lower side. If you get it any tighter than that, you have to heat it up so that you won't break the wire. So that's the way we do this. This type of arch wire, you can do this and hardly ever break one that way. Now I'm going to erase that, and we'll go on. Now we want to bend, this part's going to go in the molar, and this is going to go around. This will be in a bicuspid out here. So we want to bend this wire and go in here and then go this way. So I grab the plier with this little pointed plier with that tool steel in there is really hard, and you pinch it up here, and now I'm going to bend this wire in that direction. All right, I grab it here and bend that in. Now I'm going to grab it over here and bend it back out again. And we catch it there and bend it out. Now the wire comes like this, goes in here, and now we bend this in, so this fits in the bicuspid, this fits in the molar back here. So your wire then, and we're going to be going this direction. See, this would be on the bicuspid right here, and your molar would be here, and this would be coming back around in this direction. And we grab it over here, hold this, bend that back out again. And now we make another one on the other side. You see, you come here, bend the omega, and then bend the wire in, comes around, comes over here, and you mark where you want the mesial to be, and it'll be right on the money. Now, here is the wire that we finished. We can have torque in the anterior part of this, but when you get over to when you put torque in the anterior part, but after the cuspid you take the torque out of it, unless you're going to do progressive torque. We put a large wire out here and start spreading it out. So here, this omega would fit in here. The wire, if you look very carefully, goes along here, goes out, here's your omega, and it's out going into the molar. There's a difference in the molar and where the bicuspid fits. And so the wire is out further here and then comes into the molar. Now this looks complicated when you first do it, but when you do this, you can tighten this up real good, and you can close space anywhere in the arch like that with this omega, tying this back. And I don't ever push them in there and cinch a wire back, because if you do, you take it out, you got to cut that off. Here we can take this wire out and shorten it or do something else to it and still use the same wire back here to do that. So doing the orthodontics as we do it, you would be better off to go to an 018, a 025 bracket slot, and you can use several different people's torque and tip and in and out. I think the ones we were using at the end were Roth's torquing amount in there. And we'd have these single brackets everywhere around in the arch. And there the arch wire is after it's made. And we make the arch wire off of a wax pattern that this is pure beeswax. You mash it down over the teeth in the mouth, and you can see where you want this omega to be. And you can put it in there and bend the arch wire to fit anything you want from this beeswax deal. I've got videos on that too, showing that. And that's the end of how to bend the wire and everything. I hope you understand this. It's hard for me to make it so plain that anybody can just pick it up. You have to know something about it. But that's the way we make our arch wires. And this way, I hope you understand it. And I hope this is an answer to the person's question. The 022 wires are much bigger. In other words, they're 2 thousandths by 28,000. So they're considerably larger slot in here. This is 28 here, and this is 22 in this dimension right here. Our slots will be 25 here and 18 thousandths here. So this is 4 thousandths bigger than what I use, and I use a 1725 wire, so it has 1,000th clearance in here, and so I have to put more torque to get it like it is. This sounds confusing, and I'm sure that people would wonder about it. I need to get somebody to make up kits that you could buy the 018 slot bands with the brackets on it and use those 018 slots to do all this. Any big work we want to do, we put the big daddies going outside, carry that, we get all that we need, and we get the benefit of the smaller wire for doing everything else. Thank you for watching, and so I want to say goodbye. I hope you learn how to do this type of orthodontics and use this convert over to 018 slots. Thank you, and I'll say goodbye and close out.